Hi folks, welcome to the ERB Explained. Now you'll notice I'm a little late in uploading this one, and the reason is simple. This is actually the second one that I've done this week. Earlier this week I went and I recorded Edison versus Tesla, but after editing it and everything, I just wasn't happy with it, so I'm going to re-record that one at a later point in time, probably going to try to get it done next week. So today instead we're doing David Copperfield versus Harry Houdini. Now if you'll notice from the title it says explained by a magician, and the reason is because I am in actuality been for several years a professional magician. And so I've gone and done fairs and festivals and worked for Fortune 500 companies and various other things. So, while I'm not the best magician in the world, I do roughly know what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get started on this. This one took me a little while to get to like the way they rhyme. The rhyme scheme's a little off, a little weird.
Sneaking out a teeny weeny little space is small enough to fit your talent, David. You're not a Chinese David. Your biggest endowment, your bank account balances, baby.
So obviously noting the fact that, Houdini was an escapist, the escape artist. He sat there and was able to slip out of teeny tiny spots. He'd squeeze himself into little areas and then get out, and then makes fun of the fact that David Copperfield is extremely rich, but okay. But Copperfield, his talent is amazing. David Copperfield is a great talent, not just as an entertainer, but he's very inventive in what he does too. So.
Abracadabra, you billowy bitch. Man, you look like a pirate on the Las Vegas Strip. I'm swallowing needles and spitting out evil. You couldn't escape from a black paper bag. I'm batter with patter and matter of fact. You can't match on my skill if you saw me in half.
So first of all, I love this whole, just the style of Houdini right here. So obviously he talks about the way he dresses. David Copperfield is very much known for his large blousey shirts that he goes and wears and such. And then let's go back a little bit.
You look like a pirate on the Las Vegas Strip. I'm swallowing needles and spitting out evil. You couldn't escape from a black paper.
Okay, so swallowing needles rather. You obviously have probably seen the trick. Sorry for hitting the table. I don't know if it's going to get picked up on camera or not. Where they'll sit there and they'll take needles and they'll put them in their mouth and appear to swallow them, and then they'll pull out them and then they'll swallow a string, and then they'll pull out the string with the needles on them, and then escape from a flash paper bag. Flash paper, for those of you who don't know, are the it looks like normal paper, but then when you light it on fire, it like instantly vanishes in a big giant ball of fire. That's flash paper. So. So obviously the can't match my skill if you saw me in half is obvious. The patter part, once again, for those of you who don't know, patter is what magicians do when they're going to do a trick. Is when magicians sit there and they tell you a story, or they start presenting a fact or something, and they use as a basis to go and to perform the trick with. That is patter. And it's actually very important, because if I just sit there and I just do tricks for you all day, okay, you might be cool, but it's not really that entertaining. You'll sit there and you'll be like, okay, he's going to go and make the card disappear and make it reappear, whatever. And it's okay, whatever. But when a magician presents you a story with that, when they tell you about how this card deck belonged to their father, and that he only taught them one particular trick and everything else, and he can make you connect with him on a deeper level, then the trick goes from being entertaining to being amazing. So.
When I was a child, you were a god to me. I had to do what you do. Now, you're like a Chinese wall to me. Bitch, I'll walk right through.
If you've never seen David Copperfield do the walk to the Great Wall of China, it is an amazing spectacle, and it is very well done and everything else. And the thing you have to understand is that Copperfield's always known for the big spectacular stuff. He's a stage magician, but he does it in such a great way. It's awesome. And he really did idolize Houdini growing up, and they'll bring up the fact that he owns Houdini's collection of magic.
This ain't the magic that you used to. I float a rope's hands free like it's Bluetooth. My grand illusions make your politics irrelevant. Foot of Lady Liberty is stomping on your elephant.
So, Foot of Lady Liberty stomping on your elephant. So Houdini's most famous actual illusion, as opposed to escape stuff, was he sat there and made an elephant disappear on stage. He brought an elephant in, showed it in a box. He put a thing, he brought out a big empty box. He showed the elephant. He put the elephant in the box, covered it up, emptied it, and the elephant was gone. The only thing that broke the illusion is that it took if I remember correctly, it took like 3 or 4 guys to go and push the box out for the elephant to get in, and then after the elephant disappeared, it took like 20 guys to push it out of the room. So the Foot of Lady Liberty, for those of you who, first of all, a lot of Copperfield stuff that he did that made him super famous. Because those of you who are younger might not realize, but Copperfield was incredibly famous. The reason you still even know his name is because he was the magician in America in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And one of the things he did was he's made 747s disappear. He made the Statue of Liberty disappear. He walked through the Great Wall of China. He went over Niagara Falls, and you've just got to see his stuff. I'm pretty sure most of it, if not all of it's available on YouTube. And it is very entertaining. Yeah, you got to deal with some of the 80s stuff. You got to deal with the hair and the clothes and the music and everything. But the magic portion itself, to this day, holds up spectacularly. David Copperfield is a genius at what he does. So...
You fail at making movies and you fail at making keys. You stick to what you're good at and lock them lids. Ooh, here's a tidbit that might drive you nuts. I'll hack your shit and I keep it locked up.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, Copperfield owns the largest collection of Houdini memorabilia in the entire world, including most of his magic tricks and such like that. And Houdini did not go and have any kids. Truthfully, Houdini was great at self-promotion. He was a master of working the press. But when it came to actually entertaining people in a format where you have to go and catch and hold their attention, he wasn't the greatest at it. He actually was not, from contemporary newspaper reports, I should say, since I obviously never saw him, Houdini was not that entertaining of a stage magician. He tried to get into movies and it didn't work very well either. So it's kind of an interesting thing. He's known so well for being a magician, when in actuality he was an escape artist, which is slightly different, because he wasn't actually that great a magician. Don't get me wrong, he knew tricks and he could come up with stuff, but he wasn't that entertaining, which is an integral part of being a magician. Okay, so slim figure built for slights. That's actually a double play on words, as in he can sit there, slights as in insults and such like that, because they actually spelled it like insults. Slights as in sleight of hand, where you would sit there and you would take a card and you do something to the card, and then you simply, like for instance, that's the 5 of diamonds, and I go like that real quick, and then it becomes the 2 of diamonds. That is spelled S-L-E-I-G-H-T. And so, it's kind of a double play on words right there. And they call him a chunky stuntman dressed in tights. Houdini was in great physical shape, but he was in what we nowadays would consider dad bod shape. He was in great shape. He was very strong and everything, but he wasn't like super cut or anything like that. So he looked kind of chunky, and he did tend to dress in tights because that helped him get out of, when you're squeezed into a small spot, you don't want baggy clothes to hang up if you're trying to squeeze out of something. So
you talk shit about your hero, but you can look up to me now. I know you like
You're a hack of a Bob Saget act is embarrassing.
I gotta admit, David Copperfield does look like Bob Saget. And yeah, Houdini sat there and studied under, I can't remember who he studied under off the top of my head, but I do know that he sat there and was kind of, because magic is all about, at least on the professional level, when you're trying to get shows and everything, and back then magic was huge, and so the competition was super cutthroat and fierce. It's not quite that way anymore. You don't get magicians slagging off on other magicians. You don't, like that for the most part. But back then it was pretty common for them to try to cut down the other magicians to get themselves more work. So, but the Bob Saget thing always gets me. I like Magic the Gathering, sorry. And also, David Copperfield helped reinvigorate Magic. Magic kind of sat there and had a bit of a nadir for a little bit. I mean, you had some magicians come in and do some stuff, but then Copperfield came in and just blew it up. So many people probably got into Magic because of Copperfield. I got into Magic because of Copperfield. Copperfield was a huge influence on the Magic scene in America. Okay, so let's go back so dangled by a crane. Let's see. Let's go a little further forward. Okay, so one of Houdini's most famous tricks, and you've probably seen pictures of it, it's one of the most famous pictures ever taken from him, was being put into a straitjacket, being hung from a crane, and then escaping from the straitjacket while upside down. Got locks on my bagel is just a quick reference to Houdini was born Jewish. I believe Copperfield was too, actually, so. Smash your mirrors, leave your fly wires tangled. So the mirrors thing, obviously some tricks are done with mirrors. That is not just a trope, that's an actuality. That does happen. Leave your flying wires tangled. So I feel no problem telling you that David Copperfield's flying bit is done with wires. And the reason I don't feel any problem doing that is because Copperfield already exposed how it's done. So the thing with magic is there's a lot of magical theft out there. Magicians will see how a trick is done, and then they will take it and they will do it themselves and they will claim credit for it. And Copperfield realized this. And he also realized that people don't do research and they are kind of lazy. So he felt no qualms in that his flying bit, where he sat there and would fly above the audience and everything else like that, is patented. You cannot steal David Copperfield's method for flying, because if you do steal it, he and his army of lawyers will sue you into oblivion, and it is filed in the patent office for how to go and fly without wires, because nobody ever is going to sit there and look up the patent for how to fly with wires and make it look like you're not. And it really is quite brilliant. If you're interested at all in magic, you can go see it and everything else like that. But it is a brilliant methodology for going and flying. I don't like to go and expose magic. I don't like to tell how tricks are done or anything. But for something like this, where it's already been patented, it was a big story that he actually went and patented a trick and exposed it to the public. I don't feel any qualms about that. So.
Can't hide shame with a camera angle.
Did somebody say angel?
No.
Oh.
It's really hilarious. A lot of magicians have issues with Chris Angel because they feel, and I can see why. I'm not a huge fan of Chris Angel myself. I've softened my stance on him over the years. Chris Angel is a great presenter, and that is actually a large portion of magic, is being a good presenter. And he is competent with magic. He can sit there and do a trick, but he's not the most inventive guy in the world. He has people to help him invent a lot of his stuff, which also isn't an issue. It's just a lot of magicians consider that kind of being on the lower tier of magic, where you take other people's tricks and present them as your own. So I've softened my stance on Angel. I was very much in that camp before. But nowadays, I consider him an adequate magician who's a great presenter, which makes him a pretty good magician overall. So.
They be watching if it wasn't for me. I remind the world of magic is supposed to make you happy. While you waste time proving everybody wrong, I'm backstage getting my supermodel groove on.
Yeah, David Copperfield is very famous for the fact that he dated tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of supermodel. So, I mean.
You should relax, take a private trip to my private island, suck my private dick.
David Copperfield owns an island. He made so much money. He actually owns his own private island that he bought, and you can't step foot onto his private island without his permission, because it belongs to him. It's his home. So.
I'll summon up a little Halloween brunch. Deep fried sucker with a side of punch.
Deep fried sucker with a Halloween brunch. Deep fried sucker with a side of punch. So Halloween is in reference to all that is a reference to how Houdini died. The sucker punch. Supposedly the way that Houdini died of appendicitis. We know this, but they believe that the reason that his appendix was ruptured is because a professional boxer came up to him, and Houdini was very famous for letting people punch him in the stomach, and he said it would not hurt him at all. And so this professional boxer comes up to him and says, "Hey, I want to try it." And Houdini says, "That's fine." And then he sucker punched him in the stomach, and they believe that's what led to his appendicitis, because Houdini wasn't ready yet. He just said, "Hey, I want to punch you." He's like, "Okay," and he went pow. But supposedly after Houdini did tighten his stomach up, the guy sat there and he said it was like hitting a brick. So, and then that's the end of it right there. So that is David Copperfield versus Harry Houdini, as explained by a magician. So if you guys got any questions, if you feel I got anything wrong, go ahead and comment below. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and still leave a comment. Let me know what else you want to see. Like I said, probably next week I'm going to try to do Edison versus Tesla. So get your comments in. Let me know what you want to see done, and I'll get it done as fast as possible. Don't forget to check out our other shows on the channels, such as our various reactions, and to go and check out the other ERB Explained. And I believe there should be episodes of Dan Doing Dan Things coming up. And if you got anything that you want to see us do, if you got any suggestions or anything like that, leave them in the comments below. All right, folks, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good rest of the day.